If you grew up in the last 40 years, you were told a lie. It was a lie repeated by your parents, your teachers, your guidance counselors, and your politicians. It was whispered in your ear from the moment you learned to read. The lie was simple: go to university, get a degree, follow your passion. If you do this, you will be guaranteed a place in the middle class. If you do not, you will be left behind to flip burgers and struggle in poverty. We believed them. We did exactly what we were told. We took out the loans. We studied late into the night. We walked across the stage, shook the dean's hand, and accepted the diploma. But when we stepped out into the real world, the golden ticket turned out to be a receipt. We didn't find the middle-class stability we were promised. We found a job market that didn't care about our paper, wages that had stagnated for decades, and a debt burden so heavy it delayed marriage, home ownership, and children. We are the most educated generation in human history. We are also the first generation in modern history to be financially worse off than our parents. This is not an accident. It is not bad luck. It is the result of a calculated economic shift that transformed the university system from a public good into a predatory lending machine. The education system has become a trap. It seduces you with the promise of a future, shackles you with the debt of the past, and sells you a product that loses value every single year. Today, we are going to look at the math they didn't teach you in Economics 101. We are going to trace the history of how college went from a debt-free path to prosperity to a lifetime indenture contract. We are going to expose the education trap. To understand how the trap was set, we have to look back at what the university used to be. For most of history, higher education was the exclusive playground of the aristocracy. It wasn't about getting a job, it was about signaling status. If you went to Oxford or Harvard in the 19th century, you didn't need a degree to earn money. You already had money. You went there to learn Latin, philosophy, and how to govern the empire. But in the 20th century, something changed. After World War II, America passed the GI Bill. It sent millions of returning soldiers to college. This was the democratization of education. And for a few decades, it worked beautifully. In 1970, the average cost of tuition, room, and board at a public university was roughly $1,400 a year. Let's put that in perspective. In 1970, the minimum wage was $1.60 an hour. If a student worked a summer job for full-time hours, and perhaps 10 hours a week during the school year, they could pay for their entire education without taking out a single dollar of debt. A degree was an asset you bought with your labor, not a liability you bought with your future. Because college was cheap and relatively rare, the college premium was real. Having a degree truly set you apart. It signaled to employers that you were disciplined and intelligent. It was a golden ticket. But whenever a system works well, someone figures out how to exploit it. The shift began in the 1980s and accelerated in the 1990s. The government, with good intentions, wanted to make college accessible to everyone, regardless of income. They couldn't force universities to lower prices, so they decided to help students pay the higher prices. They opened the floodgates of federal student loans. This created a perverse economic incentive structure that destroyed the market. In a normal market, if a business raises its prices too high, customers stop buying. The business is forced to lower prices or go bankrupt. But in the higher education market, the customer, the 18-year-old student, doesn't care about the price because they aren't paying with their own money. They are paying with monopoly money lent to them by the government, which they don't have to pay back for years. The universities realize something terrifyingly profitable. If the government guarantees the loans, the university can raise tuition by any amount, and the students will still sign the papers. This is known as the Bennett hypothesis. When you subsidize the buyer, the seller simply raises the price to absorb the subsidy. Since 1980, the cost of college tuition has risen by nearly 1,200%. That is 4 times faster than the rate of inflation. It is faster than the rise in healthcare costs. It is faster than the rise in housing. Did the quality of education improve by 1,000%? Did the professors get 1,000% smarter? No. The money didn't go to the classrooms. It went to the administrative bloat. Universities turned into luxury resorts. They built climbing walls, lazy rivers, 5-star dormitories, and massive sports stadiums. They hired armies of administrators, deans of student life, vice provosts of diversity, directors of retention, all earning 6-figure salaries. They did this because they were competing for the 18-year-old customer who had a blank check from the government. They weren't selling education anymore, they were selling an experience. And they were funding it by mortgaging your future. But high prices are only half the trap. The other half is the nature of the debt itself. If you take out a business loan and your business fails, you can declare bankruptcy. The slate is wiped clean. If you take out a mortgage and can't pay, the bank takes the house, but you are free of the debt. Student loans are different. They are the only consumer debt in America that is nearly impossible to discharge in bankruptcy. In 2005, the Bankruptcy Abuse Prevention and Consumer Protection Act was passed. It made it effectively illegal to walk away from federal student loans. This transformed the student from a borrower into a modern-day indentured servant. The debt follows you to the grave. The government can garnish your wages. They can seize your tax refunds. They can even garnish your Social Security checks when you are 80 years old. The university gets paid up front. The administrators get their bonuses. The government gets its interest payments. And you get a piece of paper that may or may not get you a job. The risk has been entirely shifted onto the shoulders of the teenager. This leads us to the cruelest part of the trap: degree inflation. As more and more people got degrees, the degree stopped being special. It became the new high school diploma. In 1970, you could get a job as a receptionist, an executive assistant, or a sales manager with a high school diploma. Today, those same jobs require a bachelor's degree. Does the job require knowledge of art history or political science? No. But employers use the degree as a lazy filtering mechanism. This forces young people into a pay-to-play system. You cannot even enter the corporate workforce without paying the entry fee of a 4-year degree. You are forced to buy a product you don't need, at a price you can't afford, to get a job that doesn't pay enough to cover the debt. We have created a generation of overeducated baristas. We have master's degrees pouring coffee. We have PhDs driving Ubers. The alignment between what the universities sell and what the economy needs has completely broken down. Colleges told an entire generation to follow their passion. Study psychology, study sociology, study the arts. The money will follow. It was terrible advice. The economy doesn't care about your passion. It cares about value. While millions of students were taking on debt to study subjects with no economic utility, the trades, plumbing, electrical, welding, construction were crying out for workers. Let's look at the opportunity cost. Person A goes to college. They spend 4 years out of the workforce. They graduate with $40,000 in debt. They get an entry-level office job paying $50,000 a year. Person B becomes an apprentice electrician. They earn money while they learn. By the time Person A graduates, Person B has 0 debt, 4 years of savings, and is earning $80,000 a year as a journeyman. The math is brutal. For many degrees, the return on investment is actually negative. You would have been financially richer if you had never gone to college at all. But the trap goes deeper than just money. It is a psychological trap. The university system trains you to be a compliant worker bee. It teaches you to memorize, repeat, and follow instructions. It rewards conformity. It keeps you in a state of extended adolescence. In the 19th century, a 20-year-old was a man or woman. They were building businesses, starting families, and working the land. Today, we treat 20-year-olds like children. We warehouse them in dormitories, shield them from the real world, and saddle them with debt that prevents them from taking risks. How can you start a business when you have a $500 monthly loan payment? How can you take a risk on a new idea when you are terrified of defaulting? The debt kills entrepreneurship. It kills innovation. It forces you into the safe, corporate cubicle job just to keep the lights on. It is a system of control. A population that is in debt is a population that is obedient. So, is the degree worthless? Not entirely. For doctors, engineers, and scientists, the specialized training is essential. But for the vast majority of students, the liberal arts degree has become a luxury good masquerading as an investment. It is a status symbol that signals you belong to a certain social class. Even if you are broke, the cracks in the system are starting to show. Enrollment is dropping. Men in particular are opting out of universities in record numbers. Companies like Google and Apple are dropping degree requirements. The internet has democratized information. You can learn more on YouTube and Coursera for free than you can in a $50,000 lecture hall. The monopoly is ending. The illusion is fading. We are entering a new era where skills matter more than credentials. The question of the future is not, where did you go to school, but what can you build? What can you solve? What value can you create? The education trap was a 50-year experiment in financializing the minds of the youth. It made the universities rich, the loan servicers wealthy, and the students poor. But now that you see the trap, you can step around it. You can choose a different path. You can choose skills over status. You can choose production over credentials. You can choose to be free. The diploma on the wall is fading, but the skills in your hands are yours forever. History has the answers. I'll show you where to look.